This science fair project will be determined on how we look. What this will be is figuring on how our attributes are done and made. I believe that they are the things that will make the probability of what you look like. Different methods will be shown in what makes us who we are thanks to inherited traits. This will help me and others be able to have a solution and mathematical guess on what people and their parents should look like to give into the next generation. Let's see how it all went in the end and how my solution can give us a new generation method. There's an explanation of what are genes and how they work and determine what we look like. Now, to get started, a gene is the basic physical and functional unit of heredity. Genes are made up of DNA. Genes are a section of DNA that are in charge of different functions like making proteins. Every person has two copies of each gene, one inherited from each parent. Most genes are all the same in all people, but a small difference of genes, less than 1% of the total, are slightly different between people. These small differences contribute to each person's unique physical features. Some cells use genes that contain instructions to make a protein called keratin. Keratin is proteins linked together in your body to make things like your hair and fingernails. When they pass their genes onto you, they only pass on one of these versions, and it's completely random which one it will be. Some versions of genes are more dominant than others. I will be going over eye color and hand preference as the main gene set, but I want to get it all situated and talk about earlobes as our basis of understanding. There are two types of earlobes, dangling earlobes and attached earlobes. Dangling earlobes are more common than attached. Dangling earlobes aren't stuck to your head and are more wobbly, while attached earlobes don't do that and are more stuck to your head. Let's see how that could work in a real life situation. Imagine if your father and mother both have one dangling and attached earlobe. By creating a chart called the Punnett Square, more than that in a little bit, it shows all the possible combinations to see that each D is one ear. Capital D is dangling and little d is attached. You could definitely see how it is more likely to have dangling than attached earlobes. Speaking of the Punnett Square, let's talk about that next. This is a scientific method that allows us to get the different combinations. We need to have the two genes that the grandparents of your family have. They give your mother/father one gene and combines it with the other. We make the Punnett Square by making a 4 in 1 square and put a letter based on the inherited trait that your parent have. Example is earlobes having a big D and a little d. If both have them from each grandparent, put the allele trait next to the top and left side of the squares with one D each. This shows all the different combinations that can be used for the offspring. Like I said before, I will be using eye color and hand preference as the main gene I will talk about. They are controlled by multiple genes. For eye color, it's controlled by two genes. Within this region, there are two genes located very close together, OCA2 and HERC2. HERC2 comes in one form, but OCA2 comes in two forms. OCA2 usually comes in brown and blue. In gay, the other form, it comes in green and blue. This works in a tier system to decide what of the mother and father's parents can be shown into the child. Blue is very rare, green is more common than blue, and brown is the most common by a lot. And there's a chart that goes into a tier-like structure that shows how it stacks up with one and by a set of your parents' mother and father of what eye color could be like. You can see that brown covers most of the chart, green has a bit more than blue, but doesn't have the amount brown has, and blue has a very rare trait since it's set by one combination that works the best. Now I know what you might be thinking. This will be the same. We already went over this structure in eye color. But no, actually. There is a different method that allows you to see if your offspring is right or left-handed. Researchers don't know what is required to have a right or left-handed child, but what scientists do know, however, is that consistently 10% of the world is left-handed. It tends to run in families with the mother's preference being an important factor. It is possible to have a left-handed child no matter what, but it's different based on the mother and father's preferences. If you have a right-handed mother and father, having a left-handed child is about 10%. Having a right-handed mother and left-handed father keeps that the same. But having a right-handed father and left-handed mother makes it 20%. But it can come to 30% if the father is right-handed and the mother is ambidextrous, being good with both right and left. Most individuals have a preference for a particular hand for a certain task, whereas ambidextrous people, thought to be exceptionally rare, can perform tasks equally well with both hands. The reason for it being important is because that a left-handed biased child is more likely to show ambidextrous qualities later in life. That is what makes it 30%. The only way that can go any higher is both parents being lefties, which leads it to 35%. What should you do is ask what the parent's father and mother genes were and use the Punnett Square to make combinations of what the child inherited. I'll only do with eye color since handprint is a can of worms to go through. I did it with my parents. My mother has inherited a green and blue gene, and my father inherited both genes blue. The results then makes a Punnett Square with blue blue, blue blue, and green blue. You can see that blue is the most common in the combination. This results in having 4 blue eye colored children and 1 green eye colored child. This is because since blue had genes in all of its combinations, it gets less dominant than green, since how green is more dominant than blue. To conclude, genes or phenotypes can be set in from DNA that shows what makes you, you. It determines many of your defining attributes and looks. There might be some other things that scientists will determine with genes, and maybe that could be the case, but as of right now, we can truly see what makes us the way we are and how our new generation will, scientifically, be made.